Hello, and welcome back to the Creepy Cast. This time I am joined by Dart, aka Ferret the Dark Lord Sparkles, as per usual. Ryan, aka Shadow Blackheart.
Greetings, mortals.
I'm glad you didn't scream this time like you normally do in your intros.
I
And a
gotta
newcomer.
be perfect for something.
Yeah, and a newcomer to the Creepy Cast, Kal, aka my little brother.
Hello.
Alright. Normally in the past for the Creepycast, we've either done video game related stories or anime related stories. And considering we not too long ago did the life of a not otaku for Ryan's podcast.
Yep.
I didn't want to do that, and I've already done 2 video game related podcasts, so we're going to do something a little different. I will include where I found this in the description below, but I found 10 terrifying but true horror stories that have been reported in the news. Now, the majority of these have been, if not all of them, I've not read all the way through on everything, are found here in the US. So, for those of you who are across the pond or in a different country, you don't have to worry too much about that. You got your own horror stories to worry about. So, let's start with the first one. Essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a description for this website, from this website. This website is from Esquire. Again, I'll leave the link in the description below. But I will read the entirety of just a couple paragraphs of each story, and everybody will give their point of view and just see what everybody says. Alright, starting off. Number 1. The Axe Murder House. The Basilica, if I can pronounce, I'm going to butcher names. I do apologize. I do apologize. Hang on.
That sounds like a bad indie video game developer.
I know. Hang on. The Villisca, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Villiska, or C-A, not K-A-C-A. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, is a well-known tourist attraction for ghost hunters and horror lovers alike. The site of a gruesome, unsolved 1912 murder in which 6 children and 2 adults had their skulls completely crushed by the axe of an unknown perpetrator. This house was purchased in 1994 and restored to its original 1912 condition, and then converted into a tourist destination. It costs, and I'm not exaggerating about this, it costs $428 a night to stay at the old haunted home, where visitors always report strange paranormal experiences, such as visions of a man with an axe roaming the halls or the faint screams of children. But, in November of 2014, the haunting took a darker turn. Robert Stephen Lorson, L-A-U-R-S-E-N, Lorson Jr., age 37, of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, was on a regular recreational paranormal visit with friends when horror struck. This quote comes from Vice. His companions found him stabbed in the chest, an apparently self-inflicted wound, called 911, and Larson was brought to a nearby hospital before being helicoptered to Creighton University Medical Center in Omaha. I cannot speak today. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office said Larson suffered the self-inflicted injury at about 12:45 a.m., which is around the same time the 1912 axe murders in the house began. Larson recovered from his injuries, but has never spoken publicly about what occurred that day. For Martha Lynn, the owner of the home, the incident was very upsetting. She says on quote, "It's publicity, but not exactly the kind of publicity you desire to have. I don't want people thinking when they come to the Villisca Axe Murder House, something's going to happen that's going to make them do something like that. The house remains open for tourist visits and overnight stays to this day." Thoughts? Well, my first question
I'm
is...
going to give you one more story and I'm going to bounce.
Do what?
I'm going to see about one more story. I'm going to bounce.
Well,
I don't like that at all.
here's my question. Ignoring the price of $428 per night, would any of you actually stay in this hotel? No.
Fuck no.
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 Why not? Sounds fun.
Because
No.
mama didn't raise no bitch. And second of all, why the fuck would I want to go there where I could potentially get killed myself? I'm
I
trying to
want to
live.
interact
I'm
with the
trying to
ghost.
live
I
my
want to
best
interact with the
life.
soldier ghost.
So
Like, World War II were like Confederate guys. I mean, like Union guys, but I meant Confederate times, not.
right.
Alright. I mean, I'm just like I said. I'm just trying to live my best life. But that's just me. What about you, Kal?
Uh,
I got
Yeah,
a D&D show
yeah,
to watch over this. I am already shaken.
It helps when you're a DM and you have experience reading out stories. It just helps if I can say the words right.
Yeah.
Kal? Thoughts?
yeah, that was very unsettling.
Would,
But I always love stories like that.
okay, obviously nobody here would want to stay overnight, but would any of you have any interest in actually visiting it, just to see it?
I would, if I was in the area, I'd look at the fucking house, and then I would drive away immediately.
You wouldn't go in?
No.
Why not?
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Well, it's getting around the ghosts. A bunch of kids died there, man. That's bad juju all around.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But if it were up to me to like, if it were just visiting, I guess I would check it out. Considering back in my high school days, I had this really cool teacher, Miss Hawking. She wanted to put together a school club or whatever for her and the rest of our students that enjoyed such horror stories or even paranormal shit. We wanted to start up a club for that and actually take field trips to go in visiting actual haunted houses and shit.
See, how come I couldn't have those cool teachers when I was in school?
I don't know. We never got the chance to do it. It makes me sad knowing that she had to go. But
Right.
hell. I mean, if I had the chance to go back and actually do it, then I fucking would.
Kal? Would you ever visit?
Hmm?
Would you ever visit?
Uh,
And don't think I don't see you in Discord playing Darkest Dungeon right now.
yeah, sorry, I misclicked. Hold on.
You're good. I'm fucking with you, man. You're fine.
I mean, hell, I was playing Eternal Return.
I wanted to play Delta Rune.
Anyways,
I love how everybody
this-
here is like playing games in the middle of my podcast. Thanks, guys.
I'm not. I'm just listening to a D&D podcast.
Alright.
You're listening to a podcast while recording for a podcast. All right. Why not?
It calms my nerves to do this shit.
Anyways,
Okay. All right. All right.
this sounds like one of those houses where if you're driving down the road and you just look out your window and you just see this house, you absolutely know some shit happened in it, and you just immediately want to get away from it as fast as possible. Like, judging from the way that it happened, you can, from what you told us what happened, it kind of gives like a visual description of the house in a way.
Yeah. Because the lady who bought it, I think it was in 2014. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry, not 2014, 1994. I'm way off. She bought it in 94 and then restored it back to what it looked like in 1912, like when the murders occurred. It's good.
See, that is some second-class relic shit, and she should not have done that.
I think a lot of people agree with you on that, especially the guy
Shut up, computer.
especially the guy who stabbed himself. And I find it interesting that he didn't actually like go on record and say anything about the occurrence. So I wonder what's happening with him right now.
I wish I could tell you, but I don't.
All right. Number 2. This one will be even more fun. The Haunted Doll.
Oh,
All right,
God.
Oh,
goodbye.
I already.
No, okay, no,
I already hate this.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Hang on, I'll be right back. Goodbye.
How many did everybody just straight up bail?
No, I'm good. I'm still here.
Okay. But
I'm the only one with the biggest dick.
everybody else just bailed. All right. All right. Let's wait for
So
this.
it's just
I'm back. If I gotta deal with fucking dolls, I'm fucking drinking.
I think Dart literally just bailed. Dart is out of the call and left the group. Dart left the group. Dart just messaged me on Discord. I'm good. Have fun with that.
Tell him I said, get his ass back in here.
Nah, if he doesn't want to be part of it, he's fine. He's fine. He actually didn't just drop the call. He kicked himself out of this private chat. All right. I read one story. We lost somebody. Let's see if this next one can do it to somebody else.
I'm with it all the way. I'm just saying.
Right. Well, we may have to have somebody bounce later on today because Cal has to be at work depending on how long this goes. But we'll see if that ends up coming to thing. But the haunted.
how many stories do you have left?
This is number 2, and I got 10 total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll try to get through them a little quicker. All right. The haunted doll.
Lord.
When you think of haunted dolls, it's likely the creepy old Victorian-looking porcelain kind that springs to mind. None of which you probably have laying around. Still, don't get too comfortable around kids' toys too soon. Though, a Disney's Frozen Elsa doll that was gifted for Christmas in 2013 in the Houston area made headlines earlier this year. This is an older article. When it seemingly became haunted. These next few quotes are from KPRC2 Houston News. The doll recited phrases from the movie Frozen and sang "Let It Go" when a button was pressed on its necklace. For 2 years, it did that in English. Mother Emily Madonia, however you pronounce that, stated. In 2015, it started doing it alternating between Spanish and English. There wasn't a button that changed these. It was just random. The family owned the doll for more than 6 years and never changed its batteries. The mother says the doll would randomly begin to speak and sing even when it switched off. The family decided to throw the creepy doll out in December of 2019. Weeks later, they found it inside a bench in their living room. The kids insisted they didn't put it there, and I believed them because they wouldn't have dug through the garbage outside. At that point, Elsa ceased to sing the English rendition of Let It Go altogether, speaking only Spanish when pressed. The family then double-bagged the bizarre doll and placed it at the bottom of their garbage, which was taken out the next day. They went on a trip shortly after, but when they returned, Elsa too had come back and was waiting in the backyard of their home. This time, the family mailed Elsa to a family friend in Minnesota who taped the haunted doll to the front bumper of his truck. It doesn't seem to have made its way back to Houston yet, as per Madonia's latest February Facebook update on the creepy doll. Thoughts?
Okay, well, I'll just go first on this. To be honest, I hate dolls. Doesn't matter if I'm scared of them or not. I'm not scared of them. I just find discomfort in them. The thing is, with these things, especially with a haunted doll, you already know how I'm going to feel when I start the next episode for
Oh, yeah,
for
that's
Resident
right.
Evil.
I told you this story, and here in the next few days, maybe even a week, Ryan has to record the Beneviento part of Resident Evil 8 next.
I still got to get through that part too.
I've beaten the game like 3 times right now. And that's still that's the part of the game I absolutely dread. I'm not going to spoil anything because I don't think Ryan knows what's coming up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything either. I got like halfway through it until I just quit.
Okay, let me ask this: when you quit, did you quit in the basement?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm waiting for Ryan to see.
To see if I quit playing the series because for whatever's in the basement.
Not necessarily quit. I believe you'll actually power through it, but I'm reminded of a time when you and I were recording Labyrinthine, and in my video, you did this guttural, high-pitched scream, and I think I put in subtitles, pterodactyl scream. I know that's going to happen next.
Why are you laughing?
It's his nervous reaction.
Fuck you. But to finish my thought, if I were them, I would have seen some kind of priest, or at least a specialist dealing with haunted shit.
I think they just wanted to get the fuck out of their house.
Yeah, but the way they were doing it, it sounded like they were going the wrong way about it, just throwing it out.
Yeah.
Or taping it to something and getting it far away from them, because it was still going to come back anyway.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So I figured
that's another thing I gotta
see a specialist.
That's another thing I gotta point out. Why would you mail this haunted doll to a family friend in another state? Like, hi, here's this haunted doll. Take it.
More or less, why did he tape it to the front of his truck bumper?
That's actually a good question.
My guess is because the doll was driving them crazy.
Right, but why would the guy accept it?
And tape it to his car bumper.
Yeah. I mean, if he was literally, if this news story said he tied it to a string on a bumper and literally just rode it around like bashing against the ground as he drove, I would have understood that. A little bit extreme, but I would have understood that. But he just duct taped it to his truck's grill, pretty much.
At this point, it just feels like another Annabelle story.
Yeah, just with Elsa singing Let It Go. Because that's the thing. It was singing Let It Go in Spanish when it wasn't designed to do that.
And in fact, that annoys the shit out of me.
I think it does everybody, especially if you worked
What?
retail. And you worked retail where they played like popular songs over the speakers in like Walmart, Kroger, what have you. Let It Go probably shows up again and again every Christmas.
Nah, it's mostly like those crappy public domain Christmas songs that you kind of have like a soft spot for, but every time you hear it, you kind of cringe a little.
I have no soft spot for this thing. I have no soft spot for it at all.
Nope, not that song. Nope. I hate that song.
I have no soft spot for Frozen at all. I know people are probably gonna hate me for it, but I don't give a fuck. I have no soft spot for Frozen.
I'm gonna be real. If there is one song I actually like from Frozen, it's the beginning song, the Ice Worker song.
I'm gonna be honest. I just hated the movie. I thought it was stupid. Okay, now who pulled out scotch?
I'm drinking a wine cooler.
I was about to say, I heard the distinctive noise of a cork coming out of a bottle.
That was my lips.
That was your lips?
I was drinking a wine cooler.
Okay, Cal, can you back me up on this? Does that not sound like a cork coming out of a bottle?
Yeah, I actually thought he just pulled out like some kind of bottle with like scotch or whiskey or something.
Yeah.
If only.
Damn it, I'm over here and I quit drinking. Now I want scotch. All right.
I mean, not to mention we gotta take Dart out for his 21st.
I'm gonna be the designated driver on that one.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, number 3. A Deadly Exorcism. In August 2016 in North London. Oh, so not all of these are in the United States. Cool. I didn't read this far ahead. 26-year-old Kennedy Ife, I-F-E, began acting strange and aggressive following a pain in his throat. He reportedly bit his father, threatened to cut off his own penis, and complained of a python or snake inside of him before his family restrained him to a bed with cable ties and excessive force. As the BBC reported, the family then set about attempting to, quote-unquote, cure Kennedy through restraint and prayer over the next 3 days, the court was told. His brother, Kal and Ryan, told police, "It's clear that thing was in him, what we believed was a demon because it was not natural. It was clearly trying to kill him," he said. "We had to restrain him for himself. It was clear if we didn't restrain him, he could have tried to harm people in our family." Kennedy Ife has been bound to his bed for 3 days without medical attention when his brother called emergency services explaining that Kennedy Ife was complaining of dehydration. No shit. He appeared to have developed breathing issues and was pronounced dead at 10:17 a.m. As the Independent reported, I'm assuming that's a publication in UK. I wish Spike was here to confirm. While police were at the house, Kal and Ryan allegedly carried out an attempted resurrection by chanting and praying for Mr. Ife. All 7 of Kennedy Ife's family members were accused of manslaughter, false imprisonment, and causing or allowing the death of a vulnerable adult. A post-mortem examination revealed over 60 wounds, including a possible bite on Kennedy Ife's body, and his father, Kenneth Ife, along with 4 of his brothers, sustained injuries as well. The BBC reported Kenneth Ife told jurors he ordered his sons to take shifts and use overwhelming force, but denied that an association with cults, occultists, and secret societies played any part in the death. After a 4-day jury deliberation, all 7 family members were cleared of charges on March 4th, 2019. Thoughts? We now have an exorcism story, even though it's not really exorcism. I think this family just went batshit crazy.
Yeah, this is clearly. I feel like that this sort of thing actually happens a lot, mostly in like very religious families. When like one of their family members is starting to act strange, they also start to act irrationally as well because they never think about the common stuff. Like this boy clearly could have been like, you know, mentally unstable, and they just reacted irrationally because of it.
Right. I mean, the first like diagnosis I can think of is like some form of schizophrenia in that case, because he pretty much threatened. It's either a form of schizophrenia in my head or a very severe case of like bipolar disorder. And just basing this entirely on the people I know that either have schizophrenia or have bipolar disorder, it kind of feels in that same vein. Because he threatened to cut off his father's penis, and that was fairly descriptive, we'll call it. To me, I think this, obviously, I agree with you, Cal, that this guy had some mental issues that should have been taken care of, that probably would have been found earlier if he actually went to the doctor and the family just didn't decide to just get into a circle and pray the demon out, kind of thing.
Or literally just held him hostage at his own home.
For 3 days, yeah.
Yeah, they should have just, you know, called someone.
The police, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't say, like, what kind of family this was. Obviously, it was religious, for sure. But it doesn't say if they were well off, because I know a lot of stories where if one of the children is acting weird, and it's a rich, like, well-done, like, well-off family, who basically views any kind of discrepancies in their family as a mark of shame, so they'll hide it away and try to fix it without it being going public. And I'm wondering if that's the case here, because it doesn't mention anything on their financial situation or anything like that. It doesn't even outright say they're religious. It just describes their acts of them trying to do their own exorcism, their own purification, as it was. But I'm just wondering, like, how, if it wasn't a religious reason, which I believe it is, what other reason would they have just to keep him there and not call the police? Or at least an ambulance? Because
Right.
if you threaten to cut something off, regardless if it's genitalia or not, then why would you keep that person in the house? Call 911. Get them out of the house.
My question is if they went to the hospital for their own wounds, because the news article said that they had wounds of their own, right?
It did. Let me go back and read.
Because if that's like a human bite mark, that is actually very serious. You need to go to the hospital for that. So my theory is that they're the kind of religious people who don't believe in modern medicine.
There are people out there like that.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
So maybe they didn't bother taking him to the hospital because they thought that, well, they could be religious and they thought God would fix this for themselves. Or they just didn't believe in modern medicine and thought they can do it themselves.
Yeah, here, let me reread this. A post-mortem examination revealed over 60 wounds, including a possible bite on Kennedy Ives' body. So the bite was not something the one who died, it wasn't something he did. There was a bite on him. Oh, it does say, and his father, Kennedy Ives, along with 4 of his brothers, sustained injuries as well. But it just says it sustained injuries. It doesn't say anything about a bite. I'm wondering if this is just where Kennedy basically fought back as he was being restrained, and that may have been from the injuries. But as far as the bite, it doesn't say human bite. It just says a possible bite on Kennedy Ives' body. So 60 wounds. 60. What the hell kind of... I want to know more about what kind of wounds were suffered. But yeah, I think this is mostly, I'm wondering if the family wasn't psychotic and the kid was fine.
Could be.
All right.
How about we move on to the next story?
All right.
Because we're probably treading on some dangerous waters right now.
I've said worse in my own videos. We're fine. All right. Ryan, any final thoughts before I move on?
Not that I can think of, no, actually. Other than the fact that the kid, like, I still think it was just more on the lines of schizophrenia.
Right.
But,
right.
honestly, I can say for certain.
Right. All right. Next. Oh, interesting title. Dead Animals in the Walls. Oh, God. I'm going to butcher this name. When the Bretzuis family, Bretzuis, Bretzuis family, decided to insulate their home in Auburn, Pennsylvania in 2015, they discovered that it had already been filled with scores of dead animal carcasses. As Fox News reported, the dead animals were wrapped up in newspapers from the 1930s and 40s and were among half-used spices and other items. After removing the items, they sent hundreds of artifacts and carcasses to an expert in Kutztown. The expert attributed the rotting animals in their walls to powwow or Dutch magic. Wait, what? Powwow or Dutch magic? I'm not familiar with that. A ritual originating in the culture of the Pennsylvania Dutch to treat ailments and gain physical and spiritual protection. The Pennsylvania Dutch were a group of German-speaking settlers to Pennsylvania in the 1600s and 1700s, and are often Lutheran, Mennonite, or Amish faiths. The Washington Post notes on the magic, many of the spells deal with the care of livestock, finding water, or the treatment of minor ailments, reflecting the conditions and concerns of early American settlers. But powwow, and it literally is P-O-W-W-O-W, powwow. But powwow also has within it a tradition of darker spells, and even such things as conjuring demons. One notable ritual in their tradition is this hex to create loyalty in a dog. To attach a dog to a person, provided nothing else was used before to effect it. Try to draw some of your blood and let the dog eat it along with his food, and he will stay with you. The mold found on the rotting carcasses in the Bretzuis home has caused illness among the family members, and they say that the odor hasn't gone away. Okay, that went a little interesting. My question is, if there were dead animal carcasses in that home, how long was this family in this home before they began to... Because they just said they just wanted to insulate the house. They ripped it off. Wouldn't you think the smell would have come through a long time before then?
It would have, yeah. I mean, but then again...
But wait, then again, didn't you say...
The story and shit.
Wait, didn't you say, like, the animal carcasses were also being wrapped up in, like, some sort of spices?
Yeah, it said it was wrapped up in newspapers from the 1930s and 1940s, spices and other... Hang on, let me go back to it. Others, it just says half-used spices and other items. It doesn't say what the other items are, but mainly it just says newspapers from the 1930s and 1940s, as well as half-used spices and other items.
It could be like those spices and other items that would have made all the animal carcasses like have all their odor like removed.
Oh, that is a good point. Okay.
So maybe that's why they couldn't smell them after a while, and maybe after they got them out, all that odor just sort of went out into the air. So that's why they can't really get the smell out now.
I tell you what, this is one shit Febreze is not going to be able to fix. I mean, Jesus. I mean, one thing I want to know is the history of the house. Like, who lived in that house prior to the family? Because, again, the newspapers were from the 30s and the 40s. So, this happened, I'm not saying, quote-unquote, recently, but within 100 years. So, is there, like, records that they could find and figure out, A, who did this? Because obviously they have at least a starting point for those newspapers to find out if somebody actually did it and at least figure out who's responsible.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, again, I wouldn't say for certain, but considering how they went about it, I wouldn't know what to think, especially if I even moved into that kind of house. Honestly, I would have said to tear the shit down, or for some kind of site to. I can't even think. That story's got me fucked up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with the house?
plus the wine cooler didn't help.
Fuck you.
All right, let's go ahead and jump up to the next one. Of course, the first word of the title is Florida. Florida devil worshipping. Friends noticed that Danielle Harkins, a 35-year-old school teacher near St. Petersburg, Florida, started acting strangely in June of 2012, developing an interest in demonic rituals. Soon after, she was arrested for abuse of 7 of her former students. As the Tampa Bay Times reported, Danielle Harkins told the kids that they needed to rid their bodies of demons as the group gathered before dusk Saturday around a small fire near the St. Petersburg Pier. They should cut their skin to let the evil spirits out, police said she told the children. Then they needed to burn the wounds to ensure that those spirits would not return. When Harkins held a lighter to one of the teens' hand, wind blew the flame out, police said. That prompted her to douse his hand in perfume before setting it on fire. The boy suffered second-degree burns, police said. Another teen was cut on the neck with a broken bottle. Harkins used a flame to heat a small key, which she then used to cauterize the wound. The police were notified because a friend of one of the students who participated in the ritual raised alarms. However, none of the students themselves told their parents about the event or would comment following the arrest of Harkins for aggravated battery and child abuse. NBC reported investigators said they've spoken to Harkins, but she didn't spell out what type of religion would require such drastic measures. Quote, she hasn't informed us exactly what she was trying to accomplish with this, Putz of the St. Petersburg Police Department states. Okay then. So now we have a teacher who's trying to do another form of satanic ritual exorcism on 7 children. Why not?
This made me think: is she going crazy,
You think?
or is she feeling like some kind of like what's like? What do they do? Like some kind of whispering or whatever
Whispering.
into one's ear, like it. Yeah, some kind of like whispering or whatever into one's ear, like that tells you to do these kind of choices, almost like a voice in your head.
So another form of like schizophrenia.
Yeah, I'd say that, or just because I mean, she might have had like some kind of breaking point or whatever. Maybe she's seen some shit that has convinced her enough for the way that she thinks that it may have justified her actions.
I'm just thinking, she was 35 years old and she was a school teacher. I mean, I get it. That is a very stressful job. Obviously, you have thoughts of killing some kids, but you never do it, or at least 9 times out of 10 you don't. But
Yeah.
I hate to fall back again on the schizophrenia thing, but I feel like that's what the majority of these little cases involve, at least when it comes like with a religious theme behind it. I think a lot of it does involve schizophrenia. Or at least some
I would think so.
or at least some form of mental issue. But sadly, schizophrenia is like the most common one we go to, even though it may not even be that.
Right. Hey, I'm inclined to believe at least anything if you can provide some kind of evidence.
Next story.
Cal's like, I'm done. I'm moving on. All right. Next one. The death of Elisa Lamb. Elisa Lamb was last seen on January 31st, 2013, in the lobby of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was vacationing through the West Coast, documenting the trip on her blog and checking in with her parents every day. On January 31st, those calls stopped. Lamb had vanished. Soon the police were involved and her parents arrived to help with the search. They had nothing. That February, LAPD released elevator surveillance footage of Lamb before her disappearance. The footage shows Lamb behaving strangely in the elevator, appearing to talk with invisible people, peering around the corner of the door and crouching in the corner, and opening and closing the door. But what exactly is going on in this video raises more questions than it answers. Theories range from psychotic episodes to demonic possession to unknown assailants just out of camera's view. Around that time, hotel guests started reporting. There's a typo in this article. Weird things happening with the Cecil Hotel water supply. As CNN reports, the shower was awful, said Sabina Bao, who spent 8 days there during the investigation. When you turned the tap on, the water was coming black first for 2 seconds, and then it goes back to normal. The tap water tasted horrible, Bao said. It had a very funny, sweaty, disgusting taste.
Sweetie.
It's spelled Sweety. It said sweetie. Shut up. It's a
I think I've heard.
Continue.
It's a very strange taste. I can barely describe it. But for a week, they never complained. We never thought anything of it, she said. We thought it was just the way it was. On the morning of February 19th, a hotel employee climbed onto the roof and used a ladder to investigate the hotel's water storage tanks. That's where the authorities found the decomposing naked body of Lamb, whose personal items were found nearby. After an autopsy, her death was labeled accidental. NBC Los Angeles reported at the time about the strange circumstances in the hotel's past. The tank has a metal latch that can be opened, but authorities said access to the roof is secured with an alarm and lock. The single-room occupancy hotel has an unusual history. Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, who was found guilty of 14 slayings in the 1980s, lived on the 14th floor for several months in 1985. An international serial killer, Jack Unterweger is suspected of murdering 3 prostitutes during the time he lived there in 1991. He killed himself in jail in 1994. In 1962, a female occupant jumped out of one of the hotel's windows, killing herself and a pedestrian on whom she landed.
Ugh.
Okay. Now, the thing is, I know about this story because there was, I can't remember if it was Netflix or Hulu, there was a documentary on one of those, on either Netflix or Hulu. They actually talked about this, and my boss is obsessed with true crime. So she had it playing at work, and I just kind of overheard a few things. But I remember some details on this. Another thing that they didn't mention in this is one theory of how it couldn't have just been her climbing in the water tank. The hatch that they were talking about was probably the better part of 80 pounds. And this girl was very thin, very frail. So the likelihood of her actually being able to lift it up and climb in is not, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it's not probable. So that's one thing I actually do know about this story.
There actually exists, hold on. There actually exists a video of that woman going into the elevator and doing all this stuff described in that in that story. That's actually one of the most famous like creepy internet videos. That's actually one of the most famous internet videos out there right now.
Oh yeah.
So once you start describing like the elevator and the scene and all that, I immediately knew I heard this story before.
Yeah, it kind of blew up in popularity here recently, especially with the release of the documentary.
Right, and I believe it was on Netflix too, because Mom actually watched that too.
I mean, a lot of what you hear, you obviously with some documentaries, especially on Netflix, you kind of have to take with a grain of salt. But I mean, it's an interesting concept to think about. Like, was there somebody else? Was it just her? It made reference to demonic possession as a possibility, but I feel like that's just stretching it as like a means, just obviously like spice up the news story just to get more readers and stuff like that, throwing in the word demonic possession. But I'm not entirely sure what else to think it could be. I just know it's... I think it's a real fascinating story, but I feel like there was a lot to the story. I do recommend people who are interested in this just to go watch the documentary on Netflix. It's an interesting take on it, but you kind of take it with a grain of salt because, again, Netflix documentaries are kind of more designed to keep your attention as opposed to actually tell truth. I'm not saying that everything they said in that documentary is wrong or false. I'm just saying they kind of like to spin it to where it kind of keeps your attention and sometimes is not actually true. All right. Next one. And this is the one I feel like we all should have a little bit of interest in. The title of it, An Exorcism in Indianapolis. Last year, the Indianapolis Star published a lengthy report on a family terrorized by 3 children allegedly possessed by demons. The account of LaToya Ammons and her family tells disturbing stories of children climbing up the walls, getting thrown across rooms, and children threatening doctors in deep, unnatural voices. It would seem like something straight out of a movie, a work of fantasy, except all these accounts were more or less corroborated with nearly 800 pages of official records obtained by the Indianapolis Star, recounting in more than a dozen interviews with police, DCS personnel, psychologists, family members, and a Catholic priest. One of the more chilling sections of the report include a segment about a possessed 9-year-old. According to Washington's original DCS report, an account corroborated by Walker, the nurse, the 9-year-old had a weird grin and walked backward up a wall to the ceiling, then flipped over Campbell, landing on his feet. He never let go of his grandmother's hand. Another segment of the piece reads, the 12-year-old would later tell mental health professionals that she sometimes felt as if she were being choked and held down so she couldn't speak or move. She said she heard a voice say that she'd never see her family again and wouldn't live another 20 minutes. Now, I want to say this as well. This is where the part of the article ends. There originally was a video on the site, but it says the video is now unavailable. A video regarding this has been taken down. I figured that'd be very interesting considering we all live fairly close to Indianapolis, some of us even right in it. And I think it's why another reason Dart bailed, because he lives in Indianapolis.
Surprisingly, this is also another story I've heard about before.
Really?
About the boy walking backwards while also holding his aunt's hand. Which, as soon as I heard that, I immediately knew, okay, that's got to be faked. Because it's kind of clearly obvious that the aunt was just holding back the boy, giving him leverage so that he can walk up the wall. Because you can technically walk up a wall. You just have to have like something on the other side of you, something they can also climb on.
Wait.
Okay, sorry about that. Something happened with my shit.
What happened?
Something happened with my shit.
I heard that, but please elaborate.
It fucking cut me off of the call or whatever. It was taking a minute for it to like reconnect.
Okay. But here's, like, as far as like walking up the wall, I could see that being a possibility, but I would think somebody else in the room, unless it was just them two in the room, I would think somebody would be able to see, like, obviously the aunt or whoever pushing the child up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, then again, like, the boy was like, what, 8? 8 years old?
Yeah, it said 8 or 9.
So, yeah, he probably couldn't have been that, like, he probably couldn't have been that heavy.
I don't know, man. I've seen some big old 9-year-olds. Depends on the kid.
Yeah, it depends on, like, how skinny the kid is, so.
Right. But even still, I mean, it never said how old the aunt was. So, I mean, if she's, like, pushing 60, so, like, I doubt she'd have the strength to do that, but I could be wrong. There's people out there that are well into their 80s that are more jacked than we are.
True.
Right.
But I figured I might as well include that, considering, you know, we live in this state.
Yeah.
Alright, we got 3 more. Utah murder-suicide. This one's a little shorter. In September of 2014, a Utah teen returned to his home to find his parents and 3 siblings dead. In a quote, in a notebook, a to-do list had been scribbled on the pages. The list looked as if the parents were ready to go on vacation. Items such as feed the pets and find someone to watch after the house were written. The Salt Lake Tribune reported. It appeared to be murder-suicide, but there was no suicide note, no prior indication that they would do this, no explanation. The police could not figure out why 2 parents would kill themselves and 3 of their 4 children. For a year, no one knew exactly what happened to the family or what would drive the parents to do something so unthinkable. In January, police released more chilling details in the case. According to accounts from family members and an investigation by police, the parents were driven by a belief that the apocalypse was coming and an obsession with a convicted killer. As the Washington Post reported, friends and family told police that the parents were worried about the evil in the world, quote-unquote, and wanted to escape a, quote-unquote, pending apocalypse. But most assumed they just wanted to move somewhere, quote-unquote, off the grid. Investigators also found letters written by Christy Strzok to one of the state's most infamous convicted killers, Dan Lafferty, who was convicted in the 1984 fatal stabbing of his sister-in-law and her 1-year-old daughter. According to trial testimony, he killed the victims at the order of his brother, Ron Lafferty, who claim to have had a revelation from God. The story became a book called Under the Banner of Heaven. Police said Christy Strock became friends with Dan Lafferty, and she and her husband even visited him in prison. Okay, now we got some psychosis regarding the apocalypse. So why not? But I found this interesting that why wouldn't they? No, I'm not obviously like condoning with it. Why wouldn't they wait for their one other kid to come back? Why didn't they wait for him to come back and just kill the 3 other kids and then themselves? Why was this one kid the outlier?
You want my 2 cents on it? Like, again, I have no comment other than freaky shit, not my deal.
And yet you're in charge of the underworld.
Yep, that's right.
You're bad at your job, man.
Shut the fuck up. I'm good at my job. Fuck you. I am the king.
Dude, your minions still try to kill you in Phasmo.
I mean, that's because they're programmed to.
You programmed your minion. Okay, that's going to be a whole nother topic of conversation.
Program them.
Yeah.
I didn't program them.
You just said you did.
They are programmed. I talked about the game being the program. Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Well, come to find out that Ryan's in charge of a cult.
Fuck you.
All right, thoughts?
All right. This is also another disturbing story, but in the same sense, this is also like the classic, well, I guess not really classic, but I have heard stories about people who just went completely crazy believing that the world was going to end. This was, if you think about it, this was everywhere back in like certain time periods in America. Like, for example, during 1999, during Christmas 1999.
Yeah, Y2K.
Yeah, Y2. Yeah, there was Y2K. There was also, oh god, what was it like? Not Y2K, but there was also like the what was it? 2012.
Yeah, 2012, the Mayan calendar.
Yeah, the Mayan calendar. That was also another thing that people were worried about.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
Go ahead.
And of course, there have been other different times where people thought the world was going to end, like probably during like the Cold War and all this other stuff. Yeah. This sort of mentality exists, and it has existed for a very long time. And I highly doubt it's going to end with the world nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, this definitely radiates the same kind of vibe to me as Heaven's Gate, a cult, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, where...
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Heaven's Gate. That was, were those the Kool-Aid drinkers?
Technically, yes, but I think the OG Kool-Aid drinkers was Jonestown, where he literally spent 45 minutes talking to 200 people to drink poison Kool-Aid. He didn't even just say it's normal Kool-Aid to have a drink. He outright said that this is poison Kool-Aid. He spent 45 minutes to persuade these people to take a drink. The Heaven's Gate was literally just like a group of I think it was 30 people. I could be wrong on that number, but with Heaven's Gate, I think it was more of an alien story. It was centered around, I think it was Halley's Comet or something like that, was passing by. Their belief, I could be entirely wrong on this, so don't quote me on this, was that the comet wasn't actually a comet. It was a spaceship, and it had to be in just the right position that if they died, their souls would ascend to the spaceship and get taken to heaven. So this has got a similar vibe to that.
Well, this story has kind of like a similar vibe of the world is going to end, but we are not going to suffer. Our children will not suffer. We're going to take them with us. That sort of sense, because...
Right.
And I feel like that also... It's sad to say, I think that also happened during like Y2K and the Mayan calendar event.
Oh,
so
sure, for sure.
yeah,
It's funny, like I think I can't remember how long before it happened, but with 2012, the movie 2012 coming out with, I think it was like John Cusack or something like that, like literally showing the end of the world in that movie.
yeah.
And I think Nicolas Cage did one too. I don't know if it was regarding 2112. That's the Rush album. 2012. I think it was a Nicolas Cage movie called The Knowing, regarding I think it was like an alien. I saw the movie once and I was half asleep watching it, but it's something to do with like the kids at the end being abducted by aliens and sent to a heaven-like place, or at least from what the ending I can remember is. But it kind of has that feel. But the only question I have is, why did they have like were they basically pen pals with this serial killer? Like, why? What was the reasoning for that?
It probably could be that they were pen pals for a while. They just didn't know who the hell he was at the time.
He was in prison. It said they visited him in prison.
They visited him in prison.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
All right.
I have no words for this other than who would want to be pen pals with a fucking serial killer?
There's all types, bro. All right.
I mean, I've encountered some weird shit, but nothing like that.
Right. All right. We got two more, and both of them are fairly short. Next one. The Phone Stalker. In 2007, ABC News documented a series of cell phone calls to families with terrifyingly specific death threats. The identified callers knew exactly what families were doing and what they were wearing. The families say the calls come in at all hours of the night, threatening to kill their children, their pets, and grandparents. Voicemails arrive, playing recordings of their private conversations, including one with a local police detective. The caller knows, the family said, what they're wearing and what they're doing. And after months of investigating, police seem powerless to stop them. This went on with the, oh good God, Kuykenal family for months. Kuykenal, Kuykenall. I guaranteed I butchered that name. Family for months, who reported a caller with a scratchy voice threatening to slit their throats. When the Fircrest, Washington police tried to find the culprit, the calls were traced back to the Kuykendalls, whatever. Oh, there must have been a typo. Because in the first line it says Kuykenal, in this line it says Kuykendall. I don't know. The calls were traced.
It's like a Street Fighter move.
The cells.
Kuykendall!
The calls were traced back to the Kuykendall's own phones, even when they were turned off. It got worse. The Kuykendalls and two other Fircrest families told ABC News that they believe the callers are using their cell phones to spy on them. They say the hackers know their every move, where they are, what they're doing, and what they're wearing. The callers have recorded private conversations, the families and police said, including a meeting with the local detective. Now, in this, it doesn't say that anybody was killed. It was just a threat to be killed. So at what point is the line separated between harassment and I guess it's borderline just be harassment, because aside from the phone calls, nothing really happened. This is an invasion of privacy for sure, but aside from harassment, was any other crime really committed? Obviously, you can insinuate breaking and entering and hacking, but aside from that, what other evidence do they have for this?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, listening to this story made me think, what was it almost like a fucking Scream or some shit like that, where the killer, or not the killer, but the person making the threat is like inside the house. Made me think like it's actually what
there
the
was
person
actually
is inside the house or the person who's actually part of the family.
there's actually a I think the movie you're talking about is not Scream. Well, Scream does have that effect to it, but I think you're talking about like a Black Christmas,
Yeah, kind of like that.
because that's what got me thinking too. Was like Black Christmas or Black Xmas, whatever movie you prefer.
I mean, because Vito, didn't you say that this person making the calls is could see what they were doing, what they were wearing, and everything else?
Yeah. According
Yeah, that
to
made
the
me think
article,
that it's somebody that's actually inside that actually lives with them. That's what makes me think.
right, you're basically saying like the call is coming from inside the house, horror trope kind of thing.
Or that, or it could be one of the family members who are doing this despite the situation.
Right, because they said the calls were coming from cell phones that were turned off at the time. Which
Yeah.
I don't know this for a fact, so take this with a grain of salt. Copying a SIM card and getting a cloned phone is fairly simple. So what we think is somebody that got into the house, copied the SIM card and just put it into like a just throwaway track phone, and basically did it that way. And that's probably how they did it to get the phone calls seeming like it came from their cell phones, even when it was turned off, because it was calling from somebody else with a cloned phone. But not too sure on that.
Well, I just threw my theory out of like this could just be some dickheads out there just trying to fuck with some family.
Oh, more than likely
thinking
that's
that's-
what it is.
Yeah, more than likely that's what it is. But for the fact that they actually like went into their homes, copied their SIM cards, and just done all that shit, this could potentially be something more than that. But it could also be like a bunch of dickheads trying to fuck with some family.
Oh, more than likely. I mean,
Yeah.
I still remember when I was a little younger, and I was just chilling. I think in one of the rooms back in my other place. I can't remember if it was my room or just me chilling out, just on my in my parents' room or whatever. And my dad was working on the computer or whatever out in the living room. Next thing I know, I'm getting not calls. I'm getting like text messages saying that this guy could see me or whatever, like through the blinds. I'm like, what the hell? And I run out of the living room. I run out to the living room. I'm like, Dad, something's going on. I was like getting text messages. My dad is trying so hard to keep his composure. Next thing I know, it's Dad who's actually.
I was
doing
about
that
to say
me.
this is a
was
prank.
He was trying to scare me. This was a prank.
See, I've only seen your dad like through like FaceTime and shit like that. Whenever he called me, he's like, your dad definitely has that vibe of somebody who would do that to you.
Yeah, my dad does that.
But yeah, I think this is just a prank that just went wrong. Not necessarily it went wrong, but it kind of blew up more than it should have.
Yeah.
All right, last one, and this is probably the shortest one. The Watcher.
Next question.
Next question. The Watcher. After moving into their $1.3 million dream home, a New Jersey family started receiving creepy death threats from someone who identified themselves as the Watcher. As CBS News reported earlier this year, again, this is an older article, since moving in, the owners said that they have received numerous letters from the mysterious person. The Watcher claimed the home has been the subject of my family for decades, and, quote-unquote, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming, Castro reported. Now, it doesn't state who Castro is in this, so I'm not sure. This is just a paraphrase of the original article. The new owners have several children, and other letters asked, have they found out what's in the walls yet? And, quote-unquote, I am pleased to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. The family was forced to flee from their home and later filed a lawsuit against the previous owners. So, I think this is kind of similar to the the Phone Stalker story. This is just a prank that went wrong. But again, I'm only getting snippets here of what was said in there. I don't know. I mean, I could try to find the original thing and read about it later, but as of right now, we're kind of pressed for time at the moment, so we're not going to worry about that too much. So
I'd say this is actually a good. This could be like a segment or a series in itself, to where we could actually come back and listen to more of these.
oh yeah, and this is just the first ones I found, but this last one, I do believe it's kind of similar to the one previous. It's literally just a prank that went wrong, because it made mention to a previous home that could have been just a kid, like a kid next door to this, because it's a rich neighborhood. $1.3 million home. Yeah, that's a rich neighborhood. It could have been like one of the neighbors of a rich kid who was bored one day and just decided to fuck with the new neighbors. And if it's a big enough place, you probably have some neighbors not too far off, but you obviously see kids running around outside playing, what have you. But they moved in. The guy next door just takes a peek out his window and says, all right, I'm just going to fuck with these people. And I feel like that's what we got here. It's definitely newsworthy enough that this person kind of took it that far and even gave himself a persona. But it said filed a lawsuit against the previous tenant. Now, in what way would they automatically assume any kind of guilt coming from the previous owners? I know the article said that this home has been in his family for generations and stuff like that, but again, I feel like that was just some kind of kid fucking with his neighbors. But that's just my point of view on this.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, because I would have no idea.
I think the only thing to do at that point is that because where was the letters coming from? Like, were they being left on the doorstep or like in the mailbox or anything?
It doesn't say. It's literally just a paraphrase from the original article.
Okay, because at that point, I would just invest in getting home security at that point, like putting up cameras, putting up at least 2 cameras, one in front of the one that's on the front door to see if, like, if anyone drops off a letter there, and one that's actually right near the mailbox to see if anyone suspicious comes by and just puts in like a random letter.
Right.
That way they can easily describe the person to the police.
Right.
If there's any way to describe them, or if they recognize them in any way.
Or if the person was dumb enough to put a return address on it and actually mailed it with a stamp.
True.
I mean, there have been more stupid criminals in the world. That may be the topic of the next creepycast. Stupid criminals.
Oh, I actually know a story a while ago. Right now, I could probably tell, like, real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, so those tour bus things, tour buses,
like the double-decker buses.
Yeah, double-decker tour buses, Greyhounds, what have you. And like, those are the kind of buses that have built-in toilets in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I just want to give that little bit of a context, because these 2 guys were essentially trying to do this whole thing where they're trying to siphon all the gas out of these buses to make a bit of a profit, as well as, make sure they don't spend any money on their own gas. I forgot where this was, but whenever they actually try to siphon the gas, I think they've done this to like 3 other buses at this point. But when they try to do one to this particular bus, they ended up siphoning out the septic tank.
I saw this coming, yep.
They ended up siphoning out the septic tank of this bus, but they siphoned it in the sort of like sucking them out through their own mouths kind of way.
God.
Oh, God, no. Okay, no, I don't think I would hear any more of this.
All right. I've got a dumb criminal story real quick. It's fairly short. Guy goes in and pretty much points the gun at the clerk and says, open up the safe. And the guy said, dude, I don't have the commo to it. The manager's the only one who has that, and he's out. He's not going to be here for a while. The robber gives the cashier his cell phone number, his personal cell phone number, and says, "Call me when the manager gets back." The guy pretty much said, he called the police, and the police said, just say, text the guy, "Hey, manager's back." The guy comes back and gets arrested on the spot. Oh my god, that's so fucked up. Oh my god, I thought that was really funny. All right, Cal, you gotta head out to work here before too long, so we're gonna wrap this up. So, thank you for joining.
So
Go ahead.
I still got like 30 minutes left, so we can talk for a little bit.
That's fine. We'll go ahead and finish this up and finalize everything out. But
Yeah, not to mention I gotta talk to the girlfriend after this.
yeah, we gotta make sure you stay alive for another day.
Yeah, I gotta live. I gotta fight to live.
Yep. All right, but thank you for joining us on this episode of the Creepy Cast. I was previously joined by Dart, aka Ferret the Dark Lord Sparkles, but after hearing,
I tried to get him back in here.
if he heard the exorcism story, he would have said, "Fuck this, I'm out." That's fine.
Yeah, he said he was a coward. He didn't want to go back in.
That's fair. All right. But sticking with me throughout the entire ordeal of reading these creepy stories is Ryan, a.k.a. Shadow Blackheart. Say bye.
Bye-bye.
And Cal, a.k.a. my little brother.
Hello there. Or goodbye.
We're starting all over again.
No.
And back to the haunted doll.
No. No.
All right. Thank you for joining us on this previous episode, of the Creepy Cast. Hope you all have a good one.